Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Alex Williford. I'm the digital advertising lead here at G5. And this is the webinar of how to build a smarter digital advertising strategy. I am joined by Catherine Tussaud, who is one of our solutions engineers here.
Hi, everyone.
Perfect. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and get started here. A little bit about who we are at G5. G5 has been doing real estate marketing for the past 13 years. We have 170 plus experts in-house doing digital advertising marketing specifically for real estate verticals. And our agenda today. So again, point of the webinar today is how to build a smarter digital advertising strategy. These are the specific talking points that we're going to go through. What is digital advertising? Why do it specifically for real estate verticals? And then actually how to build that smarter DA strategy. So we're going to include what traffic channels you should include, some specifics targeting, the user experience on your website, how to get people to convert once they're on your website, and then how to track all that. So we're going to go into tracking and analytics, how to improve that conversion funnel, how to improve your traffic channels and your targeting. But really, what we're hoping you come away with is your questions answered. So why should you even care? What is this digital advertising thing? Why is it important? Why should your business be doing it? How you get started. So that's actually a pretty big question. Digital advertising can be really confusing. So we're going to try to simplify that as much as possible, kind of give you a high-level overview on how you find new customers, how you get those prospects to do what you want them to do once they're on your site, and then how to evaluate what's working. That's actually a really important piece there, so you can do more of that and less of what's not working. So our first section here, what is digital advertising? Or more importantly, where do you start and why do you care? I think really the best way to answer that question is to think about your ideal customers. So picture them in your mind. For the sake of the exercise, I'm going to be using multifamily as an example. So pretend I'm an owner of a 150 unit property and I need to get that property leased up. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? And it's really helpful to picture your ideal customers. So my ideal customers, say, are apartment renters in the Houston market. And then imagine what they're going to do. So some really interesting stats here. 87% of my ideal customers, 87% are going to research my property online prior to ever coming into my location. So they're going to know what floor plans I have available. They're going to know what prices those floor plans are going for. They're going to know where you're located. They're going to know if you're pet friendly. They're going to know everything about your location prior to even speaking to a leasing agent. Once they're actually at your property, that could be scheduling a tour. It could just be stopping by to check it out. 79% of those users are going to be on their phone while they're there. So while they're talking to your leasing agent, they're actually going to be on their phone, filling in any gaps of knowledge that they don't already know. And then even after those 3 touch points, so before the visit, during the visit with your leasing agent, and also while they're there, even after those 3 touch points, 35% of them are going to go online afterwards to fill in any gaps of knowledge that they didn't get. So it's important. I mean, it's important that you're online. It's important that the information is available to your consumers when and where they want to consume it, especially considering the volume. So 3.5 billion searches are completed every single day across Google, specifically for the real estate vertical. So you're going to have 3.5 billion people searching for your products and your services every single day. Further, 30 billion ads are served every single day for real estate searches. That's a really insane number when you think about that. A little bit about the quality of digital advertising. So not only are people there searching for information online, these people are willing to click on ads, and when they do, those ads are typically profitable for those advertising. Businesses on average make $2 in revenue for every $1 they spend on Google ads. That's a 100% return on investment. But what is it? I mean, digital advertising, like I said, can be pretty confusing. So there's many options available to us. Many people, when they think of digital advertising, they go straight to PPC or search advertising. That's what you see on the screen now. And that's really kind of separated into two groups. So you have your organic results and you have your paid results. We have them separated here. At the top, you have paid results. The first 4 results are always going to be paid. This is what PPC is. This is Google AdWords. This is Google Ads. People pay to be in these positions. On the bottom, you have organic results, still served by Google, but you don't pay. This is all SEO related. So for the sake of this webinar, we're talking specifically about the paid results. And where it gets confusing is it doesn't stop here. So digital advertising does include Google Ads. That's what this is. But it also includes display advertising, banner advertising, Facebook advertising, geofencing or geo-targeting, and then you have to track all that with Google Analytics. So it gets confusing very quickly, but it doesn't have to be confusing. When you kind of take a step back and look at the 101-foot view of what digital advertising is, there's really only 3 pieces. The first piece is traffic, or how you're getting people to your website. These are going to be the things like what channels you're using, what kind of targeting you're using. After traffic, so after you have people coming to your website, what are you doing? What steps are you taking to get them to convert, to get them to that final action? You know, what actions matter to your business? For most people listening to this webinar, it's probably going to be something like a tour or a lease, or someone talking to a leasing agent, right? So traffic for traffic's sake really isn't all that valuable. You're sending traffic to your website so they do something. And that's that second pillar there. So conversion, what percentage of that traffic is converting into a lead? And then the third piece is what percentage of those leads are converting into your final action, or in the case of my multifamily property, a lease. And when you combine those 3 pillars, you come out with a really, really robust, powerful digital advertising strategy. And without any one of these pillars, it kind of crumbles apart. So pillar 1, traffic, or where do you find your ideal customers? And as it turns out, it's actually not that difficult. I'm getting some funny looks from our marketing department, right? Telling you that it's not that difficult and we're a marketing agency. What I mean is just getting traffic to your website, especially paid traffic, isn't that tough. You can sign up for Google Ads or Facebook ads, and you can have traffic coming to your site the very next day. And the reason for that is there's just so many people online. Your consumers are online. They are searching for your products and services. And here are some stats to back that up. I mean, we see 13 billion real estate related search queries annually, and 741 million, or about 5%, actually click on those ads. So your customers are already online. It's not tough to find them. But we know that only about 21% of your customers' time is spent actively searching for your products or services. The rest is just spent browsing. You know, anyone who has a smartphone is going to be able to identify with this stat. You know, most of the time you're not looking up information. You're just passively on Facebook. You're passively on Instagram, just consuming whatever type of entertainment you want to consume. With that being the case, it's really, really important that when we take into consideration the type of traffic that you're sending to your site, that it's not just search advertising, right? You're only going to be in front of your customers about 1/5 of the time if you're using just search advertising. It's really important to expand and be in front of your customers even when they aren't actively searching for your apartments. And that's really what display advertising is used for. So the first channel that we're going to talk about is display. It's a great channel for building brand familiarity and also trust with your target audience, so your target customers. Usually when we talk about display advertising, we're talking about Google Display Network. You can see some examples of the creative that Google allows you to display. And you can actually display this creative across millions of websites. I forget the exact stat. I wish I would have looked this up, but it's something like 90+% of every single website on the internet is an available targeting option with Google Display Network. That's a crazy stat. You can get your brand in front of 90% of the websites on the internet. I also want to mention, if you see in my parentheses there in the title, it says cold. What I mean here is not every click is created equal. So traffic coming from a display campaign, these are going to be people who are in that passive state of browsing information, consuming information. They're usually just looking for entertainment, right? If they're browsing ESPN and they see an advertisement for an apartment, it's pretty unlikely that they're looking for an apartment immediately today if they click on that ad. It's more likely that in the next 3, 4, 5 months, their lease is going to expire and they're going to be looking for a new apartment, right? Hence, this being a great channel for brand awareness, brand trust, you know. So when finally they are ready to lease, your brand is already top of mind. Second channel we're going to go into is paid social. In parentheses there, I put cold, warm. So again, this traffic is still pretty cold. If someone's browsing Facebook, they're probably not looking for an apartment immediately. It's much more likely they're just browsing Facebook, looking for funny cat gifs or whatever else people do on Facebook. That being said, still very, very important that your brand is there in front of consumers when they aren't actively looking for apartments. Facebook is awesome. It's one of my favorite channels, and it's because of the targeting options available to us. Facebook is the only channel that allows you to target based on psychographic information. It's a little creepy, but you can target at a very, very, very granular level. So we can create an audience of, say, apartment renters in the Houston market who are looking for apartments in the next 1 to 3 months. And then we can serve ads to just that audience. And it's great because you're getting your ads in front of your target audience, again, when they're not actively searching for apartments. Paid search. So this is the classic PPC, Google AdWords. This is what most people think of when they think of digital advertising. They think of search advertising. We showed you that SERP, the search engine results page earlier, of the paid results and the organic results. This is the paid results of that section. So this traffic is warm and sometimes even hot. I mean, people who are looking for apartments now are going to be the users that you're targeting with your paid search campaigns. And the reason for that is how we target people. If you look at the 2 examples I have here on the slide, and you look at the keyword examples, so the local keyword examples, nationwide keyword examples, that's how you target people. So you basically tell Google, hey Google, anyone looking for apartments near me, show them our ad, right? And as long as you're structuring your keywords correctly, you can bid on keywords that have high intent. So if someone's looking for 1-bedroom apartment that accepts pets, they're much, much more likely to be looking for apartments in the very near future than someone who's just passively scrolling through Facebook. So paid search is going to be your main channel almost always because it's the highest quality traffic that you can get. And then remarketing. It's really important not to forget about remarketing. For those of you who are unfamiliar, anytime you go to Amazon and then you're stalked around the web for the next 3 weeks based on every product that you added to your cart, that's a great example of remarketing. Amazon is great at remarketing, and there's no reason that everyone can't be great at remarketing. It's actually really, really easy to implement. It's just a small little snippet of code you put on your site. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to remarket or show ads to users who have been to your site, but who have not yet contacted you. So when we talk about sending traffic to your site from those cold traffic channels like display, like Facebook, remarketing is very, very powerful when combined with that, because like I said, those guys are not ready to rent immediately. So when you combine that with remarketing, you can follow them around the web and remind them of your brand, keep your brand top of mind while they're still evaluating their options, while they're still in their current place. You know, maybe their lease hasn't expired yet. And hey, by the way, even given all of those benefits and the great granularity and targeting that digital advertising offers us, it's cheaper than every other traditional advertising method available to us. We're measuring this based on the cost of getting in front of 1,000 users. Technically, that's called CPM. And when compared to something like direct mail, which is it's one of the more targeted options compared to magazines or posters or television, getting in front of 1,000 customers is going to cost you $56. And that's compared to $3 of online advertising. Okay, awesome. So we have people coming to your site. Not only do we have people coming from your site, but we have people coming with all sorts of intent levels. So we have people who are actively looking for apartments with our paid search campaigns. We have people who are just passively perusing and browsing, but we still know that they're renters. How do we get those users to do what you want them to do, right? How do we get them to contact your leasing agents or rent a storage unit or take a tour of your property? The easiest way to answer this question is to start at the end. So what do you want users to do? So again, I'm going to pretend I'm a multifamily owner. I own a 150 unit property. My end goal is to get someone to sign a lease, right? I want to make sure that my vacancy exposure is as low as possible. I want to maximize my NOI. And the way you do that is you have a full pipeline of leads so your leasing team can sign them to leases. That's my end goal, leases. But before you can get to leases, you have to consider what the steps the prospect has to go through. And one step above a signed lease is usually, aside from an application, a property tour. But before a prospect is ever going to take a tour, they have to be qualified by a leasing agent, usually. Usually your leasing agent is not going to go give a tour to just any Joe Blow who walks off the street. You can use any sort of qualification method. The typical one is just the BANT method. So do they have the budget for, say, my floor plans? Do they have the authority to move in? Do they have the need for my specific floor plans? And is the timeline appropriate? Are they looking to move in the next 2-3 months, or is their lease going to expire in a year, right? Moving up even further, so before someone can be qualified, they have to actually contact you. A lot of times, people contact your property way in advance. So they'll contact your property to ask questions, right? I'm sure your leasing agents get a ton of calls about, what floor plans do you have available? What are the pricing? Do you accept pets, etc. Oops. And then the very, very highest level, so before someone can even become a lead, they have to visit your website. They have to consume information on your website, learn a bit more about your property. If you remember that stat, 87% of people, before ever contacting your property, are looking at your website and consuming information. Where it gets really, really interesting, and this is where we start to get into the actual conversion pillar, is, the whole goal of digital advertising is to increase your conversion rates by stage. So you want to increase the number of people that, number one, come to your website. That's just traffic volume. So more people in the top of your funnel. Then you want to increase the percentage of people that convert to a lead, convert to a qualified lead, convert to a tour, and then convert to a signed lease. Turns out it's actually really, really hard to do. And the reason that's so difficult is because most of the time, prospects don't follow a linear journey like that. They don't go, website to lead to tour to lease, right? It'd be great if they did. It would make our jobs really, really easy, but it's just not the case. Everyone's journey to a lease is different. And, it's really simple to just say that, but it makes our jobs pretty complicated. Just because there's no one way to target at scale a mass number of users, unless you get really, really tricky. And that's what we're going to cover now. So how do you do that? I mean, how do you maximize those conversion rates by stage? How do you get more people in the top of your funnel? How do you get people to convert at higher rates? So eventually you can have a full funnel and have those leases rolling through the door. So what you want to do is map out the stages that your prospects are taking, the journey that your prospects are taking, and the questions they have at each stage. And then you want to make sure that your marketing and your website is answering those questions. So this is the same funnel that we showed you earlier. It's a classic awareness, interest, desire, action marketing funnel, but we're breaking it down into a bit more granular level. So the first stage, this is where your prospects may or may not be aware of your community yet, your property yet. Maybe they just landed on your website from a display campaign or a Facebook campaign. Again, that cold traffic. What are they going to do? I mean, I'm sure you can answer this question yourself. If I'm a renter and I land on a property's website and I've never heard of them before, I have some questions right off the bat. Like, where are you located? How much are your floor plans? What floor plans do you have available? Me personally, I also do kind of a brand like gut check. If I'm looking for a high-rise condominium in New York and your website looks like it's from 1995, that's going to be a turnoff for me, and I'm probably going to bounce. Because if your website's not luxurious, if your marketing's not luxurious, and you're promising that your property is, there's a disconnect. There's some friction, and friction is really bad in digital marketing. So after this stage, after someone comes to your website, they consumed kind of that base level information. What do they do next? Well, if that information passed their check marks, right? If you have the floor plans available that they're interested in, if it's within budget, if it's in the location they're interested in, they're going to be interested. They're going to be interested in your property, and they're probably going to shortlist it. So most people, they don't go to one apartment and then immediately lease. They like to research. They like to compare. It's comparison shopping. It's part of the reason ILSs are so popular, right? It's because they show like every single apartment in a particular area, and people can do a ton of research on that one site. So they're going to shortlist your property. What does that look like in practice? Sometimes people contact the property at this stage to ask about pricing or where you're located or specific amenities or if you have any specials. A lot of times they don't. A lot of times they literally just write down your property either in a spreadsheet or on a piece of paper or even just keep it in their mind. But they usually do include this type of information. A lot of people also look at social proof at this time. So what is social proof? It's going to be your online ratings, your online reviews. They're just trying to get a gauge of if they would like living at your property. If they pass, if again, my property passes these check marks within their price range, they have the amenities they want, social proof check mark, it's time for some decisions. You know, what properties are these prospects going to contact? What that looks like in practice for your leasing team, again, it's going to be, this is the stage typically where you're going to qualify those leads. So you're going to have a whole lot of leads coming through the door, but a lot of them aren't going to be qualified just because, again, people are just in the shortlisting stage. They're not looking to tour your property right now. But at this next stage here, this is really where your leasing team needs to crack down and really figure out who's the right fit for your property and who's not. After that, if they're qualified, they go on to a tour. Again, people are still evaluating at this stage. You know, a lot of times they're going to be on their smartphone while they're talking to a leasing agent. They're also going to be evaluating your leasing team in and of itself. They're going to be evaluating the actual tour. You know, does it match with what is online? It's pretty important that it does. If you're advertising a luxury property and the property is not actually luxury, that's going to be an issue. You want to make this experience as frictionless as possible. Make it very, very seamless. And then finally, you get to that end goal there, which is a signed lease. So again, the goal and a way to increase the conversion rates from each one of those stages, increase the number of people converting into a lease after they're on your site, is to make sure your website can answer all these questions without a leasing agent. You want someone to be able to land on your site, evaluate all the information they need to evaluate, move your property to a short list, have an easy way to contact your leasing agents via phone call. You want that available to them. You also want a form fill available to them. Make it all very, very easy. And the beautiful thing, this is really where you get into the digital advertising aspect of it. Once you have that mapped out, you can start targeting people based on where they're at in their funnel. So you can use paid social traffic to target people who are at the very top of the funnel, who aren't looking for your apartments now, who are passively browsing Facebook. You can send them to your website because you know now that you've gone through those steps that your website is good at answering questions that those prospects have. You can now send that paid social traffic, that display traffic to your website, and your website's going to do a really good job of informing and educating your prospects, so they're going to have a frictionless experience all the way through to a lease. We can use remarketing to remarket to that cold traffic, that display and paid social traffic. And then obviously we're also going to use paid search traffic it's almost like a shortcut, right? There's not much, there's less need to educate, less need to inform if someone knows what they want. If someone's searching for a pet-friendly one-bedroom apartment in Houston, we know exactly what they want. We can send them to your pet-friendly one-bedroom page on your website, answer their questions immediately, and all of a sudden they're way, way closer to that final goal there, which is a lease. And this is what that looks like. When you combine everything we just went over, this is the journey that a prospect is going to take with your marketing campaigns and with your website. Regardless of where they're at, right, in their journey. whether it be they're 6 months out from looking for apartments, and right now they're just kind of browsing and making that short list. You know, we have paid social, we have display advertising. We're going to be targeting those users. Your website is now geared to answer their questions. If they're looking for apartments right now, we have our paid search campaigns. And regardless of which channel they originally got to your site from, we have remarketing to make sure your brand is top of mind. So the last piece here, tracking and analytics. This is actually way more important than a lot of people give this credit for. Without proper tracking and analytics, number one, you're not going to know which of those channels is working. And then even within each of those channels, social, display, search, you're not going to know which targeting is working. And if you don't know, if you can't answer those questions, right? What targeting is doing best? What channels are doing best? If you can't answer those questions, you're going to have a very, very difficult time improving your marketing and improving that marketing funnel that we went over. So the goal, we kind of just went over it, but the goal of having proper tracking and analytics is really twofold. It's one, to increase the efficiency of your marketing campaign. In practice, what that looks like is increasing those conversion rates by stage, right? So increasing that website visitor to lead conversion rate, that lead to qualified lead conversion rate, and then eventually that qualified lead to tour and application conversion rate. And even more importantly, really this is where the big impact comes from, is reducing your media spend. So digital advertising, if you remember that stat, we have a $3 CPM on average. So for every 1,000 prospects we reach, it only costs $3. If you're still using traditional banner advertising or print advertising or newspaper advertising, whatever, it's going to be more expensive to reach those prospects than digital advertising is going to be. And you're not going to have the same level of tracking and analytics that allows you to improve it even more. So this is just a bit more in depth of what that means, right? So when you're talking about increasing efficiency, really what you're talking about is increasing the lifetime value of your leads. If you're sending your leasing team very qualified leads that are ready to convert immediately, say from our paid search campaigns, or say you did a really good job educating prospects who came to your site from display or social campaigns, those leads are going to be self-qualified. They're going to know your property is the right fit. Your leasing team is going to have a pretty easy job moving them through the funnel to a lease. You're going to get way less of the, you know, hey, do you guys offer apartments for $500 a month, right? You're going to get qualified leads. What that does, it does increase your gross margin on a lease. So you're increasing efficiency there. And then even more importantly, you're decreasing your acquisition cost of a lease. So proper tracking and analytics allows you to track which channels are working, which channels have the lowest click to lead conversion rate. And then if you have tracking set up in your leasing management system or your property management system, you're going to be able to see which channels are driving the lowest lead to lease conversion rate. So what do you track? So let's say you get tracking and analytics set up. What's important to track? It's kind of a trick question. It's a really difficult question to answer because it really depends on the end goal of your business. We're spoiled in that we only work with 3 verticals, multifamily, self-storage, senior living. So we can really hone in on what matters to your business. And we know that's going to be cost per lead. So how much are you paying for each phone call from a digital advertising campaign or each form fill from a digital advertising campaign? That metric is closest to your bottom line in a why. If you can improve the amount of money that you're paying for each lead that's sent to your leasing team, and in other words, decrease your customer acquisition cost, that will improve your bottom line. Less important metrics, but still important to keep in mind, cost per click, click-through rate. I'm sure many of you have heard of these metrics. A lot of agencies love to use them. They're really a measure of traffic quality. So again, it's not measuring like lead quality or the volume of leads coming through the door. It's measuring traffic quality. So if your click-through rate is really, really high, it's a really great sign that your ads are resonating fantastically with the people that you're targeting, right? Multifamily average, just a little tidbit here, is 5.5% for click-through rate. So 5.5% of the people that see one of your ads click through to the website. G5's average is 10%, so double. That's really, really good, and that actually bodes really well for that metric just above, cost per click. This is the amount of money that you're paying per click. Just realize we never mentioned how you pay for digital advertising. You actually pay on a per click basis, which is awesome, as opposed to traditional advertising where you usually pay on a CPM basis, or, you know, we expect this newspaper to reach 50,000 people, so we're going to charge you X amount. Digital advertising is different in the sense that you only pay for results. So you're only going to pay when someone actually clicks on the ad and lands on your website. And the higher your click-through rate, the lower your cost per click, because Google rewards relevancy. If your ads are relevant, Google will give you a lower cost per click. And then clicks. I mean, clicks is just volume, right? So what is your total top of funnel? How many people do you have coming into that funnel that we went over? That's clicks. So how do you actually track it? This could be in a webinar, like a whole nother webinar in and of itself. But here are the basics. So Google Analytics is kind of the industry standard. It's a really, really simple installation. It's tracking and analytics software. It's one line of JavaScript. So you implement one line of JavaScript into your header, and out of the box, you're able to track how many people are coming to your site, what they're doing on your site once they land there. And then with a little bit of customization, once we get into traffic pixels and tags and events and goals, you can actually track everything we went over in the webinar. So you can track how many phone calls are coming from specific channels or specific campaigns, how many forms are coming from specific channels or specific campaigns, what's your cost per lead, you know, what channels are doing best, what campaigns are doing best. You can answer all of those questions with proper tracking and analytics. I'm going to hand it off to Catherine now. She's going to walk you through some of the really cool stuff we're doing at G5, a little bit more about how to make your digital advertising a bit smarter.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. You know, I work around this stuff every day, and I am still just thrilled to have learned more in listening to Alex present all that. So thank you. So now that you have all that background, let's dive in a little deeper to what we like to think of as smarter digital advertising. Traditionally, the process of planning, building, and managing digital advertising campaigns is time-consuming and requires constant attention. We understand that most of our clients wear a ton of hats, whether they be leasing agents, directors of marketing, marketing agents, whoever they are, they have a ton of stuff on their plate. So you spend your time working on tactical details of advertising, meaning most folks spend less time looking at the results and adjusting their campaigns like they probably should. G5 automates the most time-consuming aspects of digital advertising management. This allows us to focus our attention on optimizing campaigns based on how they're truly performing, and really gives you more time to do everything else that you're expected to on a day-to-day basis. We do this by automating campaigns based on strategy, dynamically displaying pricing or turning on and off ads based on inventory availability through integrations with your other vendors, and through more precise lead attribution to campaigns via call insights. Our digital advertising uses these strategies and a ton more to target your customers on their journey by finding patterns and types of people who convert and targeting more like them, targeting the radius of the searcher and the radius of the area being searched to get your ads to show up when location matters, which it always does, and utilizing moments when your customers make a change and need your services. Life events like graduations, moving across the country, getting engaged or married, sometimes getting divorced, retirement, you get the picture. Those big events are really things that we'll go after. And as Alex mentioned, G5 delivers 2.5 times the ad conversion rates than the industry standard. So you can feel confident that your digital advertising spend is optimized really around that conversion number. Through what we call our Intelligent Marketing Cloud platform, we'll give you the visibility into what is or isn't driving traffic. We do this because we feel like transparency is really important and a huge part of being a partner of yours. And we like to think of ourselves as kind of an extension of your digital marketing or marketing departments. And we really want to ensure that we're being good stewards of your marketing dollars. One of the ways that we're able to provide you with that higher conversion rate and more insight is through our ability to track where those leads are actually coming in as phone calls. So our call insights provides more data into that Intelligent Marketing Cloud or IMC that I mentioned earlier. Normally, you can only see a generic bucket of attribution to digital advertising, like 52 phone calls. But with multiple campaigns running at once, how can you tell which ones of those are actually working if they're all just bucketed together? Through our call attribution, we can now see how each campaign is performing and which keywords are drawing people who actually convert. This really allows us to spend more on the right campaigns and keywords that get the right types of prospects. So we're trying to minimize that wasted spend. And with that partnership, it really means that we're running an ongoing strategy for you. So one less thing for you to worry about. And this includes building the campaigns, measuring their success, and then iterating on them to optimize each one and make sure that they're performing as well as they can. Some of the things that our team actually does when we talk about that optimization, there's a ton of them on here, but things like negative keyword lists, so ensuring that we're not only targeting the right keywords, but we're also disqualifying the ones that would generate the wrong type of traffic and cost you those unnecessarily clicks that you're paying for. Analyzing how campaigns perform on mobile versus desktop, setting and adjusting daily budgets and keyword bids, and A/B testing things like headlines, descriptions, the photos used in ads. We can really look at the results of those and see which ones convert at a higher rate, and then we can optimize against that and drop the campaigns that aren't working. So, what does G5 advertising actually get you? The ability to adjust budgets monthly. Unlike aggregators or internet listing services that are often a tiered and set amount, our budgets are extremely dynamic. You'll get that transparency into spend and the metrics behind your campaigns. You'll see a fast impact to occupancy with highly targeted leads, which your leasing agents are sure to appreciate. You'll receive continuous campaign optimization driven by all the data we receive from call attribution, A/B testing, keyword optimization, and thousands of negative and positive keyword lists to reduce wasted ad spend. So with that, we just want to thank everyone for joining today. We hope that this was informative and provided some context or was a good refresher for those of you who were familiar with everything we covered. We will be sending out a copy of the slides to you, and in that email you'll have the option to contact us to either set up a demo, or if you had questions on anything you heard today, we would be more than happy to answer those for you. Thanks.